I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. My name is Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 8 years now. When we first got together, I thought we had something solid: mutual respect, shared dreams, a pretty good sex life. Or so I thought. Lately, though, I'd noticed little things that didn't sit right. She'd be more irritable, snapping at me over nothing, or cancel plans at the last minute. She started spending more time at the gym, which she claimed was for her health, but I could tell she was hiding something. I remember the night I decided to surprise her. It was a Wednesday, and I bought tickets for a concert she loved, a band she'd been obsessing over for months. I wanted to do something nice for her to remind her I cared. I got home early, around 5 in the afternoon, thinking I'd cook us dinner, maybe set some candles, make the evening special. I was humming to myself, feeling good about finally catching her off guard for once. But when I got to the door, I noticed something strange. The lock was slightly ajar. Not a lot, just enough to make me pause. My stomach sank. I pushed the door open slowly and entered our living room. That's when I saw it: candles flickering, wine poured into glasses, and clothes scattered across the floor. My heart started pounding. I saw her, Lisa, on her knees, with someone I didn't recognize, a guy with a slick smile, obviously the yoga instructor she'd been talking about. I'd never even met the guy, but I knew right then and there what was happening. They were deep into it, oblivious to me. The smell of sweat, sex, and some strange, intoxicating mix of perfume and sex oil filled the air. I froze, watching from the doorway. My mind went blank for a second, then everything turned to rage. I'd never felt this kind of betrayal before. I had trusted her, loved her, and she was out here, fucking someone else in our house, in the living room I decorated for romantic nights. I couldn't believe she'd lie so blatantly, tell me she was at some advanced tantric poses class. Yeah, right. The candles and wine, the whole setup, it was obvious it was more than just yoga. She'd been sneaking behind my back for weeks, maybe longer. I didn't shout immediately. Instead, I stood there, rooted to the spot, trying to process the fact that my wife was cheating on me. How long had this been going on? Was I just blind? Or was I pretending everything was fine? My mind spiraled. I felt sick, betrayed, humiliated. I wanted to scream or break something, but I didn't. I just watched as Lisa's face registered my presence, that bitchy sneer curling on her lips as if she'd been caught doing something innocent. She looked at me with those eyes, so dismissive, so full of lies, and said, "Mike, it's not what it looks like. You've got it all wrong." Yeah, right. I could see the way her hand was on his thigh, the way her lips were parted in that stupid, fake smile. I knew what it looked like. It looked like I'd been played. I didn't say a word at first. I just turned around slowly, feeling the heat rise in my chest. I wanted to tear her apart, to scream at her for how she'd betrayed everything we'd built. But I knew I needed some time to think, to really process what I'd just seen. I left the house without a word, walking out into the cold night, my mind racing. I felt so many emotions at once: anger, sadness, confusion, disbelief. How had I missed all the signs? How long had this been going on? The worst part was the way she lied about it, always denying, insisting it was just a yoga thing, claiming I was overreacting. She played the victim, the innocent wife caught in some misunderstanding. But I saw through it. I knew the truth. And deep down, I knew my life, our life, would never be the same. I was hurt, furious, and somehow I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just let her get away with this. I had to plan my next move, because this betrayal had broken something inside me, and I was not going to let her walk all over me. I spent the next couple of days trying to piece everything together. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face on her knees, that smug look she always has when she's lying. I replayed everything I saw that night, trying to convince myself it was some horrible mistake, but deep down I knew better. She'd been cheating on me with that yoga instructor, Mark, or whatever his name was. It was so obvious now. The candles, the wine, the clothes thrown around, it wasn't just a private yoga session like she insisted. It was sex, plain and simple. No amount of her bullshit explanations could change that. I decided I needed a plan. I couldn't confront her again without some kind of proof. I started snooping through her phone, her emails, her social media. It didn't take long before I found what I was looking for: messages from Mark, flirtatious texts, photos of her in some provocative poses that weren't yoga. She'd been lying right to my face. I also found receipts from a spa she'd gone to for massage therapy, but that was definitely code for something else. All the pieces fit. She'd been sneaking around, lying, and probably doing this for weeks or months. Once I had enough evidence, I decided to confront her again. I didn't want to humiliate her in front of her friends or family, but I wanted her to understand I knew everything. So I waited until she was back from her yoga class, or that's what she kept claiming she was doing. When she came home, I was sitting on the couch, calm but furious. She looked surprised to see me there, which told me she knew I'd been digging. I held up her phone, showing her the messages from Mark. Her face twisted into something ugly: shock, anger, defiance. She started to lie again, spinning some story about how it was just sex, that it didn't mean anything, that she was just curious or some bullshit like that. I didn't buy it, not for a second. She kept trying to play the victim, saying I was overreacting, that she deserved some freedom, that she was bored and needed excitement. What kind of excuse was that? I felt my blood boiling. I told her I wasn't going to be some cuckold, that I'd had enough of her lies. I told her I'd been patient, trying to believe she was just exploring, but now I knew the truth. She'd been cheating, lying, and wasting my time. I told her I wanted her out of the house, that this wasn't just some fling, she'd crossed a line. Her reaction: oh, she got bitchy right away. She started screaming, calling me jealous, claiming I was insecure and paranoid, said I was overreacting because I just didn't understand her spiritual journey. Yeah, right. She said she was finding herself, whatever that bullshit means. She accused me of being controlling, said I was making her feel bad for wanting some fun in her life. I couldn't believe the audacity of her. After everything she'd done, she had the nerve to turn it around and say I was the problem. That's when I knew I had to really put my foot down. That night I couldn't sleep again. My mind kept racing through all the details, all the times she'd lied to me, all the moments I felt like a fool for trusting her. The pain of betrayal hit hard. I started questioning everything: our marriage, my worth, whether I'd missed the signs all along. I felt so betrayed, so stupid for not seeing it sooner. But I also knew that I couldn't stay in this mess. I had to think about my future, about whether I could forgive her or if this was the end. It felt like my world was crumbling, but I also felt a strange sense of clarity. This wasn't the woman I married. She'd become someone I didn't recognize, and I wasn't going to let her keep pulling the wool over my eyes anymore. After that confrontation, things didn't get any easier. Lisa kept up with her usual lies, trying to spin everything in her favor. She kept insisting that I was overreacting, that it was just a casual thing, and that I was making her feel suffocated. She cried a lot, but I didn't buy it. I'd known her long enough to see through the fake tears and the manipulative tone. She was trying to guilt me into backing down, but I was done playing her game. I told her she needed to leave, not just for a few days, but actually move out. I wanted her gone because I knew I couldn't trust her anymore, and I didn't want her sneaking around behind my back in my own house. The day she packed her bags, she threw a tantrum, yelling, calling me controlling, saying I was too jealous, that I was losing my mind. She claimed she still loved me but needed her freedom. Yeah, right. That was her excuse for everything, as if cheating and lying were some kind of act of liberation. She looked at me with that same sneer, as if she thought she was the victim. I just stood there, watching her walk out the door, feeling a mixture of relief and heartbreak. It was like a punch to the gut. I'd spent years building a life with her, trusting her with everything. And now all I had left was this mess, a house filled with memories that suddenly felt hollow. I felt empty, betrayed, a fool for not noticing sooner. But I also knew I had to pick up the pieces and move on. I started to focus more on myself, spending time with friends, going to the gym, trying to get some perspective. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd been so blind, that I'd missed the signs, that I'd been stupid for not seeing her true colors. One night after she left, I sat alone, in the dark, drinking beer and staring at the walls I'd decorated. My mind kept circling back to her lies, that smug look she'd had when she caught me spying. The betrayal cut deep. I had trusted her, loved her, and she'd turned around and shit all over that trust. I started questioning everything. What did I do wrong? Was I not enough? Did I miss some warning sign? Or was she just a bitchy, manipulative woman who wanted her freedom at any cost? It made me furious but also kind of numb. I knew I couldn't undo what had happened, but I could choose how to move forward. Honestly, I felt a weird sense of anger but also relief. The weight of her lies was finally off my shoulders. For a while, I thought about trying to fix things, maybe go to counseling, work it out. But deep down, I knew I was done. If she could cheat on me so blatantly in my own house, what was there to salvage? Our marriage was broken irreparably. And as much as it hurt to admit it, I was better off without someone like her. Still, I wondered what she told. Was she spinning some story about how I was crazy or possessive? That thought made me even angrier. The truth was, she was the one who lied, who betrayed, and now she wanted to rewrite history. I kept replaying that night in my head, her sneer, her lies, the smell of sex still lingering in the air. I felt a strange mixture of sadness and resolve. I knew I'd have to eventually move on, find someone who wouldn't betray me like this. But for now, I just needed to breathe, to stop feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. It was the kind of pain that sticks with you, the kind that makes you question everything you thought was true. But I also knew one thing: I survived this, and I was going to come out of it stronger. I owed myself that much. Time went on, and I tried to keep things as normal as possible, even though everything inside me was a mess. The house was emptier without Lisa, and every little thing reminded me of her lies. I'd find her hair in the sink, her lipstick stains on the wine glasses, and it made my stomach turn. I started tearing through her stuff, looking for more answers, more proof of how deep her betrayal went. I needed to understand just how far she'd gone, how many lies she'd told, and whether I could ever trust her again. But honestly, I was over it. I was sick of her sneaking around, playing the victim, trying to make me out to be the bad guy. I remembered finding her messages to Mark, the yoga instructor. There were explicit texts, flirtatious comments, and photos that made my blood boil. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. She had lied about everything, about her advancement in tantric yoga, about how she was just exploring her sensuality. Yeah, right. She was out there in my house with some guy she probably met at her yoga class, getting her kicks in some twisted version of spiritual sex. The fact that she thought she could get away with it, that she could lie straight to my face while doing it, made me furious. One day, I finally decided to pay her a visit at her new place. I wanted to see her face when she realized I wasn't backing down. I showed up unannounced. She looked surprised but quickly masked it with that bitchy smirk she always wore. I laid everything out: the messages, the photos, the receipts. Her eyes widened, then narrowed, and she started with her usual bullshit. She told me I was paranoid, that I was accusing her without cause, that I was possessive and controlling. She even dared to say that she was doing nothing wrong and that I was just jealous because I wasn't satisfying her anymore. I didn't buy her act. I told her I knew the truth, that she'd been lying to my face for months. I told her she was a lying, cheating bitch who used her spiritual journey as an excuse to fuck around. She rolled her eyes, crossed her arms, and started calling me names: possessive, jealous, crazy. But I wasn't having it. I told her I was done listening to her bullshit. I told her that she broke my trust, that she threw everything we had away for some meaningless sex with her yoga instructor. I told her I wanted her out of my life for good. She snapped back, trying to blame me for everything, said I was pushing her away, that I was stifling her. Honestly, it was pathetic. She was trying to guilt me again like I was the villain, but I'd had enough. I looked her right in the eyes and told her she was dead to me, that I'd never forgive her for this, that I didn't want her back, and I sure as hell didn't want her sneaking around behind my back anymore. I knew then I had to cut ties forever. I couldn't trust her, not after the things I'd uncovered. That day, I finally felt a strange sense of closure. It was like everything that had built up over the years, all the little signs I'd ignored, finally came crashing down. I felt angry, betrayed, yes, but also relieved. I realized I'd been a fool for so long, trying to hold on to something that was already broken. Deep down, I knew I'd be okay. I'd survive this, even if it hurt like hell right now. But what sealed it for me was that realization. I was done. Done with her lies, her bullshit, her betrayal, and I wasn't going to let her keep playing the victim when she was the one who threw everything away. I closed the door behind her that day and knew I'd never look back. After she left, I thought I'd feel some kind of relief, but honestly it was more complicated. I was angry, yes, but there was also a deep ache inside that I couldn't shake. For years, I built a life around her, trusted her, loved her, and then found out she'd been betraying me in the worst way possible. It hit me like a ton of bricks every time I saw something that reminded me of her. I'd find her perfume on my pillow or her hair in the sink, and it was like a punch to the gut all over again. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all of this? How did I not see her slipping away? One thing I did do was start to focus on myself. I realized that I'd been living for her, trying to make her happy, and I'd lost sight of what I needed. I went back to the gym, took up some new hobbies, and started hanging out with friends more often. It wasn't about trying to forget her, it was about rebuilding myself. But no matter how much I tried to stay busy, I couldn't escape that feeling of betrayal. It haunted me every day. I kept replaying that night in my head, seeing her smug look, hearing her lies. It made me so mad I wanted to scream. And then there was the anger, pure, unfiltered, boiling rage. I'd trusted her so much, and she'd thrown it all away for some secret affair. I felt so stupid, so naive. I kept thinking about all the moments I missed, the times she canceled plans, the little lies she told, how she kept claiming she was finding herself. It was all just an excuse, a way for her to justify her cheating. I didn't want to believe she'd be so callous, but the evidence was right there. I saw the texts, the photos, the receipts, everything pointed to her betrayal. And that realization made me want to tear everything down. But even amid all that rage, I started to feel something else, a kind of numbness. Like maybe I'd been running on empty for years, and now that she was gone, I finally had a moment to breathe. I knew I needed to accept what had happened, even if it hurt like hell. I started to ask myself what I truly wanted from life now. Was I better off without her? Could I ever trust someone again? Honestly, those questions still haunted me, but I knew I had to start moving forward. One thing I learned, and I think it's something everyone going through betrayal should understand, is that you can't change what someone else has done. You can only control how you respond. And I decided I wasn't going to be a victim of her lies anymore. I was going to take back control, rebuild my confidence, and learn to trust again on my own terms. It's not easy, and I won't pretend I've got everything figured out, but I knew I had to start somewhere. The pain was real, but so was the realization that I was still standing. And somehow, that mattered most. Looking back now, I realize that this whole experience changed me in ways I never expected. I used to believe trust was the foundation of everything, that if you loved someone, everything else would fall into place. But betrayal teaches you a harsh lesson. People can hide who they really are behind masks for a long time, and sometimes those masks come crashing down all at once. I learned to see things more clearly, to trust my gut, and most importantly, to value myself enough to walk away from someone who doesn't deserve my trust. It's funny how life throws these brutal lessons your way, but in some strange way, I'm grateful. I found out how strong I really am, not just emotionally, but as a person who refuses to be played for a fool again. I've started dating again, cautiously, slowly. The scars are still there, but they're healing. I've come to accept that not everyone cheats, not everyone lies, and not everyone is out to destroy what you try to build. I'm learning to believe in the good, even after this nightmare. What I want other guys, or even women, to know from my story is this: trust is fragile, but so is the human spirit. When someone betrays you, it's going to hurt, maybe worse than you ever thought possible, but you've got to pick yourself up. You've got to understand that you are worth more than the lies someone told you. Don't let their betrayal define you. Take that pain, learn from it, and use it to become a better, stronger version of yourself. And for those who find themselves in a similar situation, here's the real truth. Don't spend your life trying to fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. Sometimes, walking away is the only way to save yourself. You deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect. And if someone can't give you that, then they don't deserve a place in your life. I know I'll never forget what Lisa did to me, but I refuse to let her define my future. I'm moving forward better, wiser, and with a clearer understanding of what real love should be. In the end, betrayal is a brutal teacher, but it can also be a catalyst for growth. I've learned to trust myself more, to listen to my instincts, and to value the people who truly care. Life goes on, and I'm finally ready to embrace what's next, without the weight of lies and betrayal dragging me down. I hope others can find the strength to do the same.